Hey, what is going on, guys? This is the Bogey Free podcast for the St. Jude. I'm your host, Evan Cheney. Today, joined by my normal co-host, Matt, Jimmy, and today we have Reed Fowler. How you doing today, Reed?
I'm doing pretty well. How you guys doing?
Doing all right. Can't complain.
I'm all thrown off. I don't even know what to do anymore.
Yeah.
Like, Jimmy's on a set. Like,
oh yeah, can we talk about that?
Evan is like apparently like a Vegas fan now, and he was mowing the lawn before
and
like,
living under and recording podcasts under his bed like a troll.
And I'm just like, I haven't even gotten to like the $8,000 range yet because I was out all day today. So I thought this was going to be a coherent show because I'm on the whole 30 and I'm not drinking, but I don't think it's going to matter now because I still won't know what the hell I'm talking about. So really,
so pretty normal.
Yeah. It's just a different way for me to sound like an idiot. So what are you going to do?
It's a weak field, so you have to worry too much about that.
Yeah. So what's up, James? How we doing tonight?
Doing good, man. Had a really good week, despite Charles Schwartzel costing me literally thousands of dollars with his miscut. I had a top 500 lineup in the $44, and that was with a 5 or 6, what could have been, right? And also had a couple of sweats in the $4. So all in all, a pretty good week. Doubled my money in GPPs, so that's always a positive.
I cut mine in half. So, there
hey,
you go.
You
win some, you lose some.
Yeah, yin and yang, brother. There's got to be some balance. I appreciate you sacrificing your entries for the better of mine.
Yeah. And real quick, also, shout out to Nick Verone. He took down 20K in the $5. I think he came in 3rd or 4th.
Nice.
Week, so, shout out to him. And Kamish 371 took down the listener league this week.
Oh,
so.
Can we talk about the listener league for like 2 seconds?
Oh boy!
Wow, we have triggered much.
Reed, just for the record, before he goes on this little diatribe, Evan has probably joined like 4 listener leagues so far, and this is week like 25 of the PGA season. So keeping that in mind, Evan, go ahead.
If there were a reward for winning after the first day and after winning the second day, I'd be a champ right now.
And Keith Mitchell,
I was dominating
winner on tour.
Right, exactly. Grayson Murray.
Until I decided to trust my bank. Until I decided to trust my bankroll in Charlie Hoffman and Adam Hadwin. I had the nuts up until that point.
So you didn't have the nuts.
So you had the 3:00 on Thursday nuts. Great. All right. Can we move on now?
I had the nuts for like 10 minutes. Yeah, we can. I just wanted to spew that. That was my tangent for the week.
All right. Understandable. I got it now. If you get in a couple more of these, you might actually take one down.
Oh yeah. No, I'm ready. I'm revving up.
All right. Oh God, with the NASCAR. I get it.
Nice.
Going to a NASCAR, I just want to like 2 seconds. Going to a NASCAR race yesterday was the most life-changing experience of my life.
You didn't come back with a mullet, so I mean, you're probably doing all right.
Hairstyle of the gods. I saw enough of them yesterday, though.
Hairstyle of the gods.
I live in Florida. It's like our,
the national haircut.
Yeah.
And enough smoking to create like a small concert under the bleachers. It was
So you're like constantly under things. Like you're under the bed, you're under the bleachers. Yeah. I'm noticing a theme here.
Like I had to go to the bathroom after stage 1, and I go down the stairs. I'm under the bleachers. I thought there was like a country concert going on.
Stages? What does that mean? Never mind. I don't want to know.
We're way off track. But the bottom line is, all you need to do is take a trip through any southern state, and that's pretty much what you see on a normal day.
Oh, goodness. It was a war zone down there. Anyway,
we
do have a golf tournament this week.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are. It's not Pat Mayo, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's not our tangent song.
Those are good, though. I mean, he definitely does. He goes on.
Oh, he's a good guy.
But,
he's great. No, he's great. I'm not saying anything bad about him, but apparently,
no, we got chirped for bringing him up the other last week. So,
oh yeah,
we were trying to go a whole show without bringing him up, but I guess Evan kind of just ruined it.
He's a good guy. He's like a top 10 Canadian in my heart. So, anyway, again, we do have a tournament this week. I heard, a little birdie told me. So we'll get into this track here, and excuse me, Reed. I'll throw it to you first. Talk about the course for a second and what stats you might be looking at to build a player pool this week.
Yep. So TPC Southwind, this course is located in Memphis, Tennessee. It's been here, I believe, since '89. It's par 70, around 72, a little over 7,200 yards. So it's 7,000, I believe, 244. That was a 2017 distance, and it's probably going to be the same or around there. I mean, this is the Daniel Berger Classic. I mean, this guy just kills this tournament. In terms for me, key stats, what I always look at with par 70s, especially is stroke gain approach. And if you look at here, it's a lot like last week. You're going to need to hit the ball, not necessarily in the fairway, although they're extremely hard fairways to hit. You're not going to need to hit it in the short stuff, but you need to be on the right side for those stroke gain approach. So key stats for me are going to be stroke gain approach. There's about 7 par 4s between that 450 to 500 yards. So these long par 4s, you need to be able to score. I think there's one that's shy of 450 by like 5 yards. So there's essentially almost half the course is at that long par 4. So for me, it's going to be stroke gain approach, that par 4 scoring between that 450 to 500. And like always, I think with DraftKings, you want birdie or better gained. So if you're playing on DraftKings, if you're playing DFS golf, you're going to want those birdies. Obviously, a guy like Phil, who has great course history here, is someone that I'm potentially looking into. But for me, it really comes down to that. And last but not least, proximity. I'm not a huge proximity guy, but if there's ever a tournament that I do look at that a little bit more and build that into my model, it's going to be this one. So that proximity from 150 to 175 and also 175 to 200 are a few of the key stats that I'm looking at. And then the other one really is past history. I'm going to want guys who not necessarily have been winners here, but have done well because of the difficulty of this course and because of knowing the right spots to hit it off the tee and get it to those greens.
Okay, Matt.
Yeah, I'm with Reed on all that. Real quick, again, my new little pet of this rank advantage thing. It seems like driving distance, finishing in the top 25 of driving distance, actually loses you DraftKings points. But being accurate doesn't really gain you that many either. So it's pretty neutral from that perspective. And then it's sort of average as far as strokes gained approach and greens in regulation. It's not like overwhelmingly important, but it's obviously going to be important like most courses. And then scrambling doesn't really, like strokes gained around the green doesn't really move the needle at all for DraftKings scoring either. So just a couple things to think about. They are sort of smaller than average greens. I think they're like 5,500-ish square feet. So a little bit smaller than we're used to, but nothing too crazy. Jimmy, you have anything to add here?
Not really. Check out my my course preview video that dropped yesterday on fansharesports.com. Covers pretty much all my thoughts on the course and very, very much mirrors what you guys just said. I guess I will state that with this course, bogey avoidance definitely comes into play, and maybe even double avoidance because you have so much water in play. That's one thing you guys kind of didn't touch on is the amount of water and the amount of bunkers here. While scrambling doesn't maybe lead to DraftKings success, it does lead to like actual golf tournament success here because it is such a low scoring event. I think the average winning score is between like 8 under and 12 under almost every year it's been here with like very few outliers. So, it's the kind of course where you need to be like 2 or 3 under a day, not like, you're not, I mean, guys, someone's probably going to put a 64 up there, but I mean, you're not looking for guys that need to go really low multiple days. They just need to play consistent golf for 4 days and be like 1 or 2 under a day, and they'll have a shot on Sunday. And that's kind of like the way I'm approaching this golf course because it's a benign, like long, boring golf course, but long par 4, boring golf course to me.
I think we're one
scoring.
Yeah, one thing to add, sorry to cut you off there, James, but one thing to add too, which again is not necessarily a quantitative stat. This course actually will be replacing the WGC Bridgestone again next year. So this is going to be the WGC event and the course that that tournament is going to be replaced by. So interesting to think that the WGC will take this and essentially say, hey, like this course is difficult enough to be deemed a WGC event, or again, it has the ability to have that, which obviously with those courses, what we see a lot too is those hazards and the ability to work around those greens, tough approaches. So that's just one thing I just wanted to add, just because that I think is something that we need to look at as FedEx. Again, I think last year in 2017, it was the 15th hardest course in terms of just average in terms of what that scoring was. I think it was close to 0.62 or 0.63 over par in terms of scoring average. So just something interesting to note there.
Yeah, I think Mintz tweeted out today that it had the most water balls since 2003, something along those lines. So I think 11 holes have water on them. So
11, not 10. Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, there's just
10 water hazards.
A lot of trouble in general around this course, and if you can have a couple of really bad holes that sort of take away all the steam of your round here. So.
And one other thing to note as well, the U.S. Open sectionals were today. Guys like Adam Scott did qualify for the U.S. Open today, so he might not need to be playing in this tournament. So he could possibly be one of the withdrawals, something that Jimmy mentioned in his article. So watch out for withdrawals coming up throughout the week, because this is definitely a tournament where guys withdraw quite a bit. So on that note, we will jump into our 10K and up golfers. Reed, I'll throw it to you first. Who are your guys in this range here?
I mean, it's hard. It's hard to go against Berger, right? I mean, this guy is not really coming into this tournament with good form, but then those key stats that I talked about. I mean, he's 10K right there. And when you talk about these top guys, right, this is a weak field. I think 8 of the top 20, right, are in terms of overall golf ranking are in this field. It's one of the weaker tournaments, so a lot of guys are going to flock to the top. I think in terms of the guys above 11K, I mean, there's only 2. I like Brooks a little bit better, but if I'm looking at above the 10K guys in terms of ownership and essentially this course, him being a course horse, Daniel Berger is a guy that I'm looking into. He's 10th in good drives, right? And good drives is essentially, not necessarily having to hit the fairway, but if you're in the first cut or in the rough, you hit the green on your approach. That's what I'm looking for. He's 21st in strokes gained approach over the last 24. That's someone that, that I'm looking at that 10K, just because his ownership, I think most of us aren't going to think, okay, this guy's going to win 3 times in a row. But that doesn't mean that he can't potentially get you DK points because he plays so well here. So Daniel Berger is one guy that I like, and the other guy is Brooks Koepka. I mean, this guy is coming into form. I like him at this tournament. He doesn't necessarily obviously need to use his distance, but with that 3-wood and clubbing down, he's going to be hitting driving irons. He's going to be accurate. So I also like Brooks Koepka there.
Okay, Matt.
Yeah, I mean it's sort of hard to ignore two wins in a row. Yeah. Everybody in this range, though, with the exception of Stenson, in the last 5 years has at least posted a top 10, like at the very least. So we're looking at guys who have some familiarity with this course. I never roster Stenson, and it burns me most of the time, but I'm still not going to start doing it now. I'll probably have a little bit of Phil, and I'll probably spread out a little bit up with DJ and Brooks. I think Berger's ownership might be prohibitive for me, so we'll have to see how that shakes out. Again, I mean, it's Monday night. We have little to no idea about ownership yet, because most content isn't out yet, but that's sort of where I'm leaning so far. What about you, Jimmy?
Interesting. I guess I kind of feel like I know how ownership is going to shake out in this top area, even though it's Monday, and I think it's going to be really flat. If you look at the leaderboards every year for this tournament, you have 1, 2, or 3 of the top 5 guys on the board in the mix on Sunday. Whether they finish right there or not it is maybe not the question, but they're all right there. And all these guys, are predicted to do pretty well. They're all kind of getting hyped for various different reasons. I suspect that they all land right about 20% ownership. And I think that will, give some. I don't think there's going to be like an opportunity to really differentiate yourself up here for if you're doing like a few GPP lineups. I personally am just going to take about field average of each one of these guys and try and differentiate elsewhere, because I feel like trying to maybe pick the best one of these five is, I mean, yeah, you're going to have to do it, but I don't know. I'm going to take a little bit of even exposure and try to get my differentiation elsewhere, because I don't see any of these guys like really fade worthy, and I don't have a big lean towards any of them either. Like there's a really good reason to play all of them. So I don't think I'm going to like think too much about it. I'm going to take a little bit of everybody and move on. Because they're all worth playing. I mean, really, I don't know. It's one of those weeks I can't find like a reason not to play any of them. Usually I can take a stance like really hard, but like, I don't know. What do you guys think? Was one of these guys going to WD? Does like Brooks look ahead? Like, I think that if you're going to start picking these guys, you have to really tell yourself a story, and it has to be a lot of narrative. Because if you're just looking at like a good logical reason, you can't find one. They all have about the same like good reason to play them based on their prices and sort of expected outcomes. So like you start telling yourselves narratives, and like I can tell myself a story about Brooks looking ahead for his title defense. I could tell myself a story about Berger, 3 in a row. Is that really going to happen? Stenson, like Stenson's a notorious withdrawer. He's only playing this event because he had to pick a new event on the tour, right? And the one time he's played it twice. One's a miscut like 2009 or 2007, and then one's a 13th. Like his game fits on paper, but if he ends up 20% owned and you think he's going to withdraw, I mean, like I said, like you could start getting into narratives, but I don't know. I'm not going to play the narrative game up here. I think I'm just going to be field average and move on.
Yeah, I just don't like.
What are your takes?
So that's my narrative. I just don't like him. So I'll play the other four.
Fair enough.
That's pretty much it. He's just one of those guys I never find myself rostering. And like I said, it's not a smart thing. It's just a thing that I do because I'm a fish. Like there's no way around it.
Sorry to cut you off. I think that you're going to see even more level ownership across that range now that Scott is going to withdraw, because he was going to soak up. I bet I was thinking probably 15 to 20% additional ownership. If that goes away, then I think that ownership just spreads out evenly between Berger and like Finau, or maybe even like Berger and Stenson. Maybe they get a little higher owned because they're at the bottom of the range. Just because we all suspect that Scott will withdraw. This is his sixth week in a row playing. So okay.
You don't think all that ownership is just going to Billy Horschel? No.
Dude, people don't like Billy Horschel. Like, I'm a Gator fan. I don't really like Billy Horschel in terms of like, I'm not a fan of his. I don't not like him, but I'm like, it's hard for me to root for the guy because he's kind of annoying. But I think that he makes probably the best play in this range for GPPs. I guess we're out of the 10K range, because I think stacking Berger and Horschel is probably a plus EV strategy or this week. And I don't think all that Scott ownership goes to Horschel at all. I think it skips right over Horschel, and he ends up
I was being facetious.
Less than 15% ownership.
Hold on. I'm gonna let you finish, but I have a 10K take here.
Oh boy.
Actually on Phil, because Phil, I mean, just looking at Fantasy National early on, I think Phil, if he stays in the field, he'll have the best chance here of being one of the better DK scores, especially in this range, just because everyone else just looks equal. Looking at strokes gain stats, then once you go into the scrambling a bit, and I was looking like scrambling is a little more important here than at other courses. I think, from what I see. And in this range, Phil is by far the best scrambler, especially in some of his recent tournaments. So I think
he's the best. He's the best cash game play up there for sure.
No, absolutely. But I think he's also the best GPP play in this range.
Yeah,
at least that's just my take.
Yeah, Phil. I mean, Phil is probably outside of a few other guys, one of the most variant golfers that you'll get. But in terms of DK, he's one of the quote unquote safest, right? Because even if he's at +8, this guy's going to get you birdies or better. And what scores, right? If you look over the last 50, whatever it is, Phil Mickelson is #1 in DK points because he's able to rattle off these birdies, get on par fives and 2. Yeah, and here especially, this guy has a top 15, top 3. He's got a multitude of top 10s here. He loves this course. Again, the only thing that you have to worry about is is he, again, this is a narrative going back what Jimmy was saying. This is a narrative that says, is he thinking about the one major tournament that he hasn't won yet, which is the US Open? I'm going to say no, because a guy like Phil, I feel, is a momentum player, needs to hit the ground running. He wants to obviously do well. That's the only thing with Phil is he is the most variant golfer, but he's going to get you points. And that's what obviously you want when you're playing DraftKings.
I don't think he's ever withdrawn from this event, and it's always the week before a major. He always grinds to the end at this event. I think he's the safest play up here in terms of like WD concerns.
Well, it's weird too. Dustin Johnson usually doesn't play before. I was talking to sorry, I'm going to mention his name again, but I was talking to Mail earlier today.
That listener's going to chirp you now.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's okay, rookie mistake. He was saying Dustin Johnson usually doesn't play these events leading up to the major.
It's a sponsor's obligation, I think, here.
And he won here in 2012, so maybe he feels
he WD'd the year after too. I think,
exactly. So, which will be interesting. I mean, for him, quote unquote, slumping, right? I mean, he doesn't have a top, doesn't have outside like a top 16 in all of 2018. So his slumping is, another man's, best year. So that'll be interesting to see where his ownership comes in, because usually he doesn't play these tournaments leading up to majors. So just interesting.
All right. So yeah, as you guys were going before, we'll dip below this 10K range here into our 9K guys. Like we said before, Adam Scott probably won't be in this thing at 9,600. So of course we have Billy Herschel, Schwartzel, Finau, Benny On. So who are you guys liking here in this range?
I'll jump in. I love Tony Finau. Have I ever mentioned that before?
No, not at all.
I don't know.
Marginally predictable.
I try to keep it, a little hush hush, because I don't want his ownership to get crazy, and I know how much I sway ownership. But yeah, I mean, he came back after a few weeks off, finished 13th last week, gained strokes everywhere. I played well. Last 36 rounds, he's fourth in DraftKings points. Like, just 9,300 is fine with me. Like, I don't think he should be. I think that's a little low for him compared to some of the guys right above him, but that's just my personal opinion. And I'll probably have a little sprinkle of On as well. But yeah, that's probably going to be it for me. I'll probably go 100% Finau again this week, like I did last week, even though it didn't work out. Well, it worked out for him. It just didn't work out for anybody else in my lineups.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm going a little bit above that. Charles is another guy. Charles is so hard to figure out. I mean, you look at these guys, if Adam Scott does withdraw, I mean, who has, in terms of success on the PGA, you look at a guy like Charles, he's right there. He's a major champion, winner. He's a guy that is so good when he's ball striking, when he's hitting, well off the tee. This guy is absolutely a birdie machine. But it's when do you get the Charles weeks, right? We got, a second and a ninth in between, 2 or 3 missed cuts. So like, when do you get Charles, especially at 9,400? He's someone that I'm looking in on. It's just, for me, looking at that price and trying to hone in, okay, well, what's the ownership going to be? I think a lot of people are going to flock to Tony Finau at 9,300. He's just, he's a DFS darling. Everyone loves Tony Finau, and Charles right there. So I think a lot of ownership, if we're saying, okay, well, the top is going to be pretty flat at that 20% across the board. Charles at 9,400. What do you think? 9-10% ownership for a guy that well in that range? I'm willing to buy it on Charles. I just, it's like I might get those weeks that just like, screw this. I'm just gonna wait.
What is this, 9K only, or are we down to the 8s as well?
You do as you please.
Well, I talked about Billy Horschel a little bit. I'm not really going to touch on him again. I do like him as a GPP play, and obviously he's played well at this course. I think he goes under-owned. So GPP, I'm in there. Joaquin Niemann continues to impress. I'm not sure how he fits this course because we don't know a ton about his game. It just seems excellent all around. definitely, you know, want a few shares in GPP. Stricker's my guy. My guy.
Yes.
Actually, I have another guy I actually wrote him up in my article as my guy. But Stricker is guy number 2. I was big on him a few weeks ago, and I'm going to continue to be on him. I don't believe he's in the U.S. Open this year. Last year, I think, was kind of the last year he's going to worry about that with it being in his home state of Wisconsin. This year, I think he just is doing like he has been for his other events on the tour. He's just competing where he knows he can compete. And this is one of those events, one of those tournaments that 2 to 3 under a day put you right in the mix on Sunday. And that's what Strick's going to do this week. So I'm going to have a ton of exposure to Steve Stricker, very heavy overweight on him, and he'll sort of be one of my core plays. And then the guy below him, Russell Knox, is kind of interesting to me. I played a little bit of him last week, and he didn't disappoint. Games starting to come around a little bit, it seems. Strokes gained approach have been there the last 2 tournaments. So I'll probably take a couple of flyers on Russell Knox as well for GPPs. I left your guy down there for you, Matt.
You just skipped the whole range. Who's my guy?
Oh, I'm thinking your guy down at 83.
Oh, yeah, obviously. I mean, these things go without saying. But Stricker was at a sectional today.
Did he qualify?
I can't find it. I know that he birdied like 6 out of 8 holes in one stretch, but I can't find if he actually qualified or not.
It's my guy.
Yeah, I love that play with Stricker. He's a guy that also on DraftKings for our course preview. He's a guy that for me I'm going to be overweight on. He's fantastic. Even look at when he plays well. It's around this time, and when you want, like you were saying, Jimmy, the good approaches, right? Never get into a lot of trouble. Bogey avoidance. This guy, I mean, and in terms of birdie or bettors gained, he's not that bad, right? You think, okay, well, maybe he's not gaining a lot of birdies, but he is. And he's 6th in par 4 scoring at that distance over the last 24. So again, even the quote unquote where he doesn't get you distance and he's playing on the Champions Tour, this guy is still playing well on the PGA. He said it before where he doesn't feel normal on the Champions Tour. He feels like he should still be playing PGA playing on the regular PGA. This guy is here. I love that play.
Who are you going to, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, if we're dipping down now, I'm curious to see how Neiman plays here. I think I forget who I was talking to about it, but I think he's a little bit longer than I thought he was going to be.
Oh yeah, he can hit a big ball for sure. Yeah,
so not that I knew or thought that he was short. I had no idea, but he definitely has plenty of length. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares here. I mean, I know Jimmy, you've been off him since they left California, but I just feel like why not just keep playing Charles Howell in cash? I don't know. It's a little pricey, but this field kind of sucks, so it kind of balances out. So I'll take a little stab at him, and he's I mean, this is a little nitpicky, but he's 5th in the par 4 scoring in the range that we want this week, 450 to 500. So something to consider.
He ranks 4th in my blended model for what it's worth.
Yeah, because he's a GOAT.
He's not bad.
He's so good. You're such a Howell hater that it's
I'm not,
sad.
dude. I like the guy. I just, when it comes to money, I try to make plus EV decisions, and those decisions generally relate to Charles Howell, in California, and then after that, I don't play him. It's just
I get it. I think if you're playing cash, that if you start with Phil and Howell, that you're doing pretty well right off the jump. So that's where I'm at. Obviously, I love Luke List always. Yes, you could throw Stricker in there too, and forget it. We're easy 6 to 6. See, this is an easy game. Let's just stop the show. All right, this has been Bogey Free.
Nice.
Luke List is always going to be on my rosters. I'm a sucker for Uline too, but I don't know that it really. I don't know. I'll have some of him as well, but I'm not really going to stray and throw too many darts from 9,500 to 7,500. I'm going to try to really narrow in on a few guys, and those are the guys I'm considering at this point.
Not at all dissuaded by Luke List shit putting.
Yeah, you want to see some putting, right? I mean, poor guys. That's his.
If he had a putter, he might be a 10K guy.
Hey, if he had a marginal putter, he'd be a top 5 play every week.
He only lost 1.8 strokes putting last week. That's all right.
That's actually pretty for him.
Right about average for what he's been doing.
Like that's relative though.
But he didn't strike the ball well last week. That was the issue. He didn't gain anything around the green, and he only gained 0.7 on approach. So that was the issue, right? If he's going to gain, 3 or 4 strokes on approach, and he's going to give one back to the field putting, that's one thing. But if he's not hitting it well with his irons, then it's a completely lost cause. So I will continue to fade, pretending to figure out putting. And I will keep, which is this is a weird thing for my brand too, because why won't I just suck it up and play Keegan then? But I just can't.
Yeah.
It's not possible. I don't do it. I won't do it. I refuse to do it.
Yet Keegan has won a major.
Yeah. So has
Lucas Glover.
Danny Willett. Who cares?
Poor Lucas Glover.
Well, I mean, just, you could maybe, it's hard to make an argument for List when he quite literally hasn't won a tournament. It's, you know what I mean? If you were to put Keegan and List next to each other and say, okay, their games are the same statistically, right? And which one do you want to play? Now, real golf maybe says Keegan, but DraftKings definitely says List. Because he scores better in DraftKings. Period.
Yeah, and we've been talking about this a little bit more recently, and I've been trying to sort of quantify it a little bit better. But I don't really give a shit about finish position in a tournament. Really, Luke List is 3rd over the last 36 rounds in DK points, and as well as Keegan has played, he's 45th. I think that's a reasonable reason. Can I do that? Reasonable reason?
You're the English teacher.
You want, man. It's bogey free.
So it's a reasonable reason to not play Keegan and just, save $700 and play List, right?
I mean, hey, you do you. If you want to play the putting tilt game, it's fine by me.
Well, it's probably one of the more variant stats, right? You can, from week to week, that's the one thing that a golfer could, and I say this with a grain of salt because these guys are so good. I couldn't do it. But week to week, these guys can do what Rory did and get a little Brad Faxon tip and then go 10 strokes gained putting and just blow out the field. I mean, that's
all about the confidence.
It's all about the confidence. So Spieth, hopefully, is that, find Faxton, Spieth, go to, just hit him up after the Women's US Open, whatever it is, find your thing, because if List finds whatever that is and he starts just matching the field, let's just say he gains 0 strokes putting. This guy is going to be in the top 5, top 10. He's going to be in contention every single week because his ball striking is so special. And that's, again, a guy like Keegan, right? The stats, and he fills out the stat model. He always does this. But at 9,000 in this field, yes, you could build an argument saying that it's a weak field. You want safety with Keegan, but
There's no safety with Keegan.
Exactly, right?
The irony.
Right. It's I mean, List, you want the upside, which is my long-winded response to that.
Right.
So I don't know, but I'm going to interrupt the podcast right now because I just hit 2,000 followers on Twitter. So I want to say thank you to my new recent 2,000 followers. And I want to say thank you to Just Some Guy, who's literally the last person that followed me to make 2,000.
Is that like in the supermarket where it's like the millionth shop? Or are you going to get like a confetti cannon? Just go to that guy's. No,
but his name is Just Some Guy. So cool. Thanks. Just Some Guy, 2,000 followers.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. He, I heard the name before. I think he followed my other website that's in the works there. But, we'll discuss that. I heard of him, though. I knew he folled me somewhere. That's why I knew the name.
He's just
following me now.
No big deal.
Just some guy.
Some burner accounts, though.
Yeah, it's one of Colangelo's burners.
Oh, my God.
Too soon, Ev?
Oh, my God. Yeah, your
sports
teams are on literal fire right now.
I got to mark down when this is. I need to gif that face that Evan just made.
All right, we need to get back to this golf tournament, though.
Yeah.
We can't get off on this tangent, Evan. I'm sorry. I know it's painful.
I know. I can't. I've been at this for a week now. It's just the window's right there. I'll jump if I have to.
Yeah, I mean the bed might collapse on you. So moving down past Luke List, who we all love, Harris English, I think, makes a really interesting GPP play. Team course history here, has done well at this course in the past. I am off your boy Kevin Tway. He is at 5 weeks on the consistent play, sort of a no-no for me. So unfortunately, I'm on Team Fade Tway this week.
But I mean, he kind of sucked last week, didn't he?
Well, again, that's like he's coming downhill because you get to like 5 weeks of like play. No, and you just like need sleep.
This is the bump. No, he's gonna bump back up now. That was
the only bump that he's gonna do is he's gonna take a bump out of your bankroll if you roster a bunch of Kevin Tway this week.
How dare you?
I'm just letting you know facts, bro.
See, doesn't he set up though? Doesn't he set up nicely here? Yes, we know he can hit the ball a mile, but I think we were talking about like I was on Tway even last year too at this tournament, and he's gaining 1.5 strokes approach. You know, yes, he was absolutely atrocious at Memorial, just losing everything outside of putting. But look at Fort Worth, Byron Nelson. I mean, this guy was he was playing well. He was trending in the right direction. Do you think that rubber band effect comes back, and especially if he's burned a lot of guys, we can get him at that? I don't know. Less than 10% ownership.
No. Look at every time Tway has ever had 2 back-to-back performances that are solid in a row, and they're always in the middle of a bunch of mediocrity because he's not the type of player that keeps form for a whole bunch of weeks in a row. He's just not. He's not that talented of a golfer. So he flashes a good bit of form for 2 weeks and then he goes away, like most golfers do. And like we try and time these things. It's very much like stocks, right? And Kevin Tway is a sell stock for me right now. Just he's had his 2 weeks on courses that fit him much better than this one does. The Memorial fit him very well, and he failed to perform there because he's on his 4th week in a row of play, this being his 5th. Like, even these 20-year-old kids get freaking tired, man. Evan, I'm sure you get hangovers, man. You know, it happens.
Oh, he missed a show after St. Patrick's Day weekend because he was too hungover.
See what I mean? These 20-year-old kids, they can't, they just can't.
Guy can't hang. Come on.
No, I'm training though. Seriously, my, one of the things I look for in guys is do they hold form for more than 2 events or 3 events at a time, and whether or not they're playing a whole lot of events in a row. And Tway kind of has a knock in both those categories for me this week, so I'm out.
I'll have one lineup just for the brand.
You'll have a 5 or 6
if I'm lucky.
What's some lineup you're building?
So there's a guy I really like here at 7,600 that I think is way mispriced. I don't know how popular he's going to be, but Brandt Snedeker is not nearly as far away as I think everybody thinks he is. And this course sets up really well for him. He hasn't played here in a really long time, probably because of his, he started competing at US Opens and became a much better player. But when you go back to 2007, God bless you, to 2011, the guy was knocking out solid performances here because this course fits him on paper. He missed the cut a couple of weeks ago on the number. Since then, he's starting to turn it around and finding some form. I think it sets up really well for Brandt at 7,600 to just sort of blow everybody else in this range away because he's by far and away the class golfer down here at this area with this field. So if guys are going to overlook Brandt Snedeker for Johnson Wagner and Brandon Thornberry, Corey Connors, go for it. I just, these are all guys that they're talented young people and all, but I mean,
or even
Snedeker's a proven winner on tracks like this.
Even a really bad golfer like Ollie,
Absolutely. Brandt's they're like Ollie and Brandt are both cut makers.
I need to get my shots in at Ollie because I'm so sick of all the hype around this guy.
You hate Ollie. I forgot about that. Ollie will make you a cut here more than likely, but he probably won't finish better in T50.
Yeah.
I think Brandt could compete to like a T15 or a T20 this week at $7,600. It's tons of value.
And if I'm not mistaken, Brandt's Tennessee guy, right?
You know what? I have no idea, but he has skin like he's from Tennessee.
I think he's
like a
Nashville guy,
radiant white.
So I'm gonna roll with that. There's your narrative for you guys, and if you're looking for one for Brandt, it's super scientific.
I mean, look at these courses too that he plays well. And that's obviously not a Pete Dye, but it has a lot of Pete Dye
Yeah, it's Pete Dye-esque.
Exactly.
Technical. And all these short technical courses are Brandt Snedeker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Chappell?
Sure.
Yeah.
Played well here in the past. I mean, very talented. Doesn't seem to have it right now. Not really sure where he's missing it, but like, I think he's made a couple of cuts in a row. I very talented. I don't
actually. Now that I'm pulling it up, I don't like that as much as I thought I was going to. I didn't realize he. I guess it shows he. I didn't remember that he played last week because he missed the cut.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Chappell has always been a guy too, where I've always tried to prove the case for Chappell. And when he started to just proving the case more on one occasion of, but his wrist injury doesn't look like, he's playing. So if that wrist injury wasn't something that he was worrying about, then he wouldn't be playing. And then miscut. The past month and a half, his best finish is 30th at Valero. Again, this course should set up nicely for a guy like Chappell, ball striker, right? He can, once he gets it going, he can really rattle off these birdies. But if you look at his around the green, even strokes gain approach, he's not doing well. He's only gained, in one term in the past 4 strokes gain approach. So again, he at this range, I think because he has name value, because we've seen him in bigger tournaments perform a little bit better, I think he's going to garner some ownership, but I'm going to be off on Chappell too.
Yeah. Ev, you have you have 30 seconds for Grayson and 30 seconds for Glover. Go ahead.
Yeah, them being so close together in the pricing range. I don't know.
I know. Easy stack, man.
It is. I mean, Grayson Murray is probably my lesser favorite of the two here. I think Glover kind of fits this course. The ball striking's there. The around the green game's there. But, the short game, it's bad. It's bad for him too. But if he can get around that, I think Glover's fine. Murray will just give you a heart attack anytime you roster him because he's either going to contend for the win or he'll shoot 13 over on Thursday.
And then withdraw.
That's his game. Oh, yeah. Withdraw. Yeah. So
Grayson is not a gutted out type of player, I have noticed. He's very much a if things aren't going his way, he just
take my ball and go home.
Yeah, pack it in. And that's fine. I'm glad I know that about him, right?
Yeah.
I don't, because these golfers, they can do whatever they want. It's in their own best interest to get on to the next week. But I don't believe that's one of the things I just noticed about him that really turns me off to rostering a guy or betting on a guy is I don't know how often we see it in golf tournaments, but it happens a lot where a guy has a rough start, turns it around and ends up with a top 5 by the end of the weekend. That's sort of a trademark of being a great golfer. And Grayson obviously does not have that, grind it out for a round and then figure it out the next 3 days. He doesn't have that type of approach to the game, I've noticed. So that's a big red flag for future ownership of Grayson.
Yeah.
He's always going to be low owned though.
Yeah. I mean, because people hate Grayson. He's like you were saying, he's such a polarizing player that people either love him or they hate him. And you always see him pop on first round leaderboards because he can. I like him a little bit more where par 5s come into play, where you got to hit the driver a little bit longer because he can utilize his distance there. But he always pops in the first round, and then come Friday through Sunday, he's absolutely atrocious. Because you're right, he can't put 4 rounds together. When he can, he's got to be humming on all cylinders, Thursday, Friday, and get it up there. So Grayson is a guy that can get you DK points because he can get birdies. If you're looking at him to win, that's hard pressed. But
yeah, I think what was it? Was it Nine Bridges or one of the ones over the swing over in Asia? He was T55, but had the 5th most DraftKings points.
Yeah,
it was completely ridiculous. And
even here over the last 50 rounds, Grayson Murray has the 7th most DraftKings points in the field.
Yeah,
watch him win now because I laid out some logical case for why I don't like Grayson Murray and what he struggles with, and then he's going to come out here and just be like, you know what, asshole?
Yeah.
Well, 156 guys, weak field. These are the kind of tournaments that
for sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I get you for sure. Yeah,
but it's again, he's hit or miss. I like him when he's sub 7,200. Just because when he's around those other guys, or even I've seen him sub 7, I think even last week he was close to the min price. I mean, you're rostering a guy that is clearly one of the better talents when he's priced in that range because of what he can do for you, because of the birdies that he can get. But when you start to see him at 76, 75, and you're like, well, if you're not, especially Grayson, if he's not playing well, then no way.
Yeah. So I mean, that's my tangent on the on my two brand guys.
He's probably a good pivot because I bet Ben Crane gets chalky as all get out. He's one of the course history guys here. Like I wrote him up in my article, and I'm sure I'm not unique in that. So I bet a lot of ownership down here starts to concentrate on these few guys that are clear standouts in talent, or clear standouts in course history, and you'll find some pretty interesting pivots. Because like I bet the other guy down here like 7,100 that I really like. I bet everybody else does too. So I think you might find a lot of low ownership down here, a lot of pivots, because I think everybody is going to be, like I said, at the top, they're all going to be kind of bunched up and similar. And then that probably leads to like some mid-range guys that sort of absorb more ownership than most, but more balanced. Then once it drops below like 8, I bet there's like 6 guys that take everything, and everybody else is like less than 5 or 8% owned, less than 8% owned, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, because as I scroll like below Ches Reavie, because I think Ches will get plenty of ownership because that's kind of low for him. You've got Ben Crane and then Grayson Murray, and then there's kind of nobody with any more course history or like standout. Tom Hoagie's kind of interesting after he played really well last week.
Yeah, I like him on par 70s in general. So
I don't know how. I don't think people are going to be running to the window to play Tom Hoagie though, so he's probably going to stay low owned. No, but then like you get down to my guy. This is the guy that I'm, and again, I'm not unique. Joel Dahman, right? I mean, like he stands out. He has an 18th here last year. He's been on fire 4 out of 5 tournaments. He's posted a top 20. Strokes gained approach, just killing it. Like
wait, I think. Hold on, you did that wrong. You just got to say the last 3 tournaments, and it sounds so much better.
It doesn't. I'm not trying to lead folks astray here. I'm trying to give them the facts. I'm not making a sales pitch. I'm just informing the
Isn't
people.
that the point, though?
No, it's not the point. No, the point is to give people informed, or to give people information and opinion, so they can make a decision. I don't want to influence players. I want to tell them my take is, and they can decide if I'm a lunatic or not.
Well,
I mean, we already think that.
That's fine.
No comment there.
So, but I don't think I'm crazy to be playing Joel Dahman this week. I think he is like by far and away the best golfer by course history or recent form in this below $7,500 range, and I don't think it's close in terms of like. I'm sure that everybody else will see the same thing in the stats and the history that I do, and he'll end up way too chalky because I don't see anybody else around him that's going to like draw people's attention in. Like, how many people are going to run and play Ben Silverman? Retief Goosen, right? I mean,
one.
I'm actually going to play some Retief Goosen, but you get my point, right? Like, am I crazy here? Or?
No, you're not crazy. Like this time about this in particular.
Yeah, I mean, there's some guys here. I mean, James Hahn is someone that I just see that name at 7,100. You kind of want to roster him, but and this is the thing with James Hahn, right? He missed 6 cuts in a row, and then he won, right? Yeah. It's the same thing that's happening now. I think he's at 5 missed cuts, so we just need one more
number coming up.
Exactly. You see him at that price, you're like, okay. I mean, yes, he's a talented golfer. He's not playing well, and this always goes to the current form and course history and that debate, which is, yes, you could go either way. I'm more of a current form person, which ironically this week I'm a little bit more course history weighted into the guys I want to play. But he's another guy. He's another guy that's down here because, again, what you're trying to find in this range is, do these guys have win equity? Can they put together 3 rounds, 3.5 rounds, whatever it may be, to get you points? At this tournament, you can take more of a risk because of the talent is not necessarily there. Yes, you could see, like you were saying, Jimmy, that these top guys, you've seen them in the top 5 at this tournament because of their sheer talent. But it doesn't mean like a Summer Hayes can't come out of nowhere and do well here. Is that going to happen? Probably not. But I mean, that's what you're looking for at this price range.
Yeah, I think I like JT Poston too, because he's three out of the last 4 top 30. Hasn't really like put everything together in those results. Like, he's bad on approach, but he makes up for it around the green. He's gets a little better on approach, but loses it around the green. So I think if he could put it together in a field like this, I think that he could post a pretty good number for DK purposes.
I got a couple of low on for you. No, go ahead.
No, what about Sam Saunders?
Yeah.
Not him.
Sure.
In this field, right? Like,
yeah.
Why not?
Has he ever played here before? I literally haven't looked at him this week. So
I'm checking now. He played here last year. I think missed the cut.
He was awful last year.
Yeah.
I mean, even another guy right by him. I mean, Sam Saunders, yeah, that's the sort of what I talked about earlier with Grayson Murray when he's below 7K. Look at the guys around him. I mean, Stallings, Tyler Duncan, Blaine Barber, Nick Taylor, Nate Lashley. You're not playing these guys. You might play a little maybe Hunter Mahan, Dominic Balzelli, but Saunders isn't even Sink, right? Right there next to him. I mean, these guys at 6,800. And if you're doing stars and scrubs, if you're going heavy at the top there, you got to roster some of these guys down here. So yeah, I mean, Sam Saunders at 68. Again, what are you looking for? You're looking for talent, guys that can potentially all of these guys are talented, but you want guys that potentially have shown something, or are apt or have acumen in one of the key stats. And Sam Saunders is a guy that if he can get the ball in the fairway, then he's even close to the fairway. He's a guy that can get you points. So yeah.
Oh, Jimmy. Pattern math alert.
Where are we at?
Stuart Sink. We got one.
Oh yeah.
So,
he shows up here pretty well, actually.
Yeah, but he was like 20 for 21 at Memorial and missed the cut last week.
He cost me. I had a really solid 5 of 6 with Sink in it last week. It was unfortunate.
Yeah, he's gone miscut 72, miscut 58, miscut. So we're looking at at
42?
least the top, top 40. Yeah,
spectacular.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So I'm going to hit you with some guys that are younger than Sink. A little higher on the price tag, but I think they're going to be.
Is anybody older than Sink in the field?
Probably Retief Goosen. Definitely
right.
Steve Stricker.
Yeah.
Boom.
But that's about it, though.
Either way, Phil might be older. Phil's like about to be
while you tell us. I'm going to look that up.
So I think if you scroll back up a little bit to the $7,400 range, there's an interesting pivot play in Troy Merritt, very athletic kid, has that type of game that can kind of go away and show up like a James Hahn, has played well at this course in the past and finds himself gaining some strokes on approach as of late. The other one that fits this course and I just found he's a previous winner here, I guess. I'm looking at now. Fabian Gomez keeps popping up in my blended model for whatever reason. But I think he won at this course before.
I believe so.
So maybe probably fits the course pretty well based on that. But that's more of just my model likes him more than anything else. And apparently there's good reason for it.
Fabian won 2015, so recently. I mean, over Greg Owen.
Yeah, Fabian Gomez screws up all my databases because of the accent on his name.
Oh gosh, yeah,
and it pulls it in in a really weird format, and it pisses me off. So he's off my list.
It's unfortunate. Sorry, Fabian.
He got named out.
Yeah, Phil's 3 years older than Sink.
See,
same birthday though. Same exact birthday.
Wow,
strange. That's not true. I just completely made that up.
Oh.
I don't know. I just thought it'd be fun. Yeah. And Stricker did make it. Apparently, I'm seeing sources are confirming that Stricker qualified for the U.S. Open. So,
oh no,
are you serious?
According to Nick Verone, who I referenced earlier.
No.
Yeah. So we'll
Stricker
see.
Seems like a stand-up guy, though. He's firm on his commitments. Hopefully.
We'll see. Maybe not that firm.
I've got to restart everything. Oh,
no, it's tragic. Fine. What could go wrong?
Tragic.
Just make sure, real quick, make sure you're following all of us on Twitter, obviously, and I'll retweet like the PGA Tour media stuff when people withdraw, like I usually do. So make sure you're doing all that.
Tricker.
All right, we have anybody else, or are we good for one and done?
I mean, Jimmy's over there with the vinegar strokes for Stricker.
I can't focus right now, man.
Oh,
the guy
shit. Tommy Gainey's in this field?
Oh, yeah. Throw on 2 gloves and
let's go.
Any other big breakers? Well, I guess Finau.
Yeah. That's why I love him so much.
Yeah. There's one guy that always seems to play well in these, like this stretch, and I've tried to be contrarian and play him up probably a little too early. Is Chad Campbell? I mean, at 7,000.
Yeah.
He always shows up around this time, like St. Jude, these tournaments that like the John Deere's. Chad Campbell's always a guy who gets like his top 15 or top 10 here and then just goes off the map. Yeah. So I'm going to be looking
up in my course history model.
Yeah. Again, a guy who can, when his irons are hot, he's good. Obviously, he's 102nd, I think, over the last 24 with approach. So you're not necessarily banking on that. But he's a guy, again, at this range. If I look at the guys around him, like, shit, I haven't even heard of Dawson Armstrong. Yeah, I'm not playing, any. So again, if I'm rostering guys like Brooks and I want to be heavy on Brooks and DJ, I want to take some of these guys on here. And Chad Campbell is one that keeps on popping just in my
Sweet.
Okay.
So instead of one and done, since I don't know where we're at with those, why don't we should we take a fade, or should we pick a guy that we think is a WD?
How convenient the guy that's 2.5 mil behind wants to stop talking about one and dones.
Well, it's clear that Evan is not participating any longer. So I was just trying to make it like I was trying to spice it up a little bit. But if you want to continue and let me eke it out at the end,
no, go ahead. Let's try a new segment here.
We can just go down narrative street since it's a narrative tournament. Pick a fade or pick a guy that we think is going to WD. Way harder than a one and done, right?
Oh,
like it has to be like a good, like what are we talking about? Fade like above 9K?
Yeah, I mean you're not fading Corey Connors.
Well, no, I am.
I mean, we are fading Corey Connors.
You know what I mean?
That's why I ask.
Yeah, exactly. No, make it above 8,500.
Oh, okay.
Here's my.
You can even go like 83. You could even go like 8,300 if it's a popular guy you think is going to miss the cut.
You're such a dick. Just leave Luke List alone. Like what the fuck? You specifically just did that for Uline and then List. Like go away.
All right. I'll share my take here. Billy Horschel. He'll be my fade.
Okay.
Scrambling's not too great. Some of the other stats I'm looking at here, such as around the green and approach, are not good. So I'll fade Horschel here at 9,700.
Okay.
I mean, I said it before. I'm not going to play Stenson, so I guess that would be it.
You just hate him, though. I mean, I get it.
Okay.
All right, fine. So, fuck it. I won't play any Schwartzel either, personally, but that's just me. I know I'm in the minority there, but...
I think my guy is actually going to be it's actually going to be Brooks.
Oh,
but your box out, yeah. Box out a lot of ownership there.
Well, and that's kind of the thing is I think that like he doesn't have a ton of history here. He has I mean he does, but I mean I don't know. He's defending his first major. I just feel like I have to play a narrative, and the narrative is that I can see Brooks looking ahead to next week and not being totally focused on whatever bullshit is happening this week. Because I mean, like in Brooks' eyes, like this guy's a big time gambler. He's a big time. I don't know, dude. Like it looks like nothing bothers Brooks, just like DJ when they're walking around. Like have a care in the world. Like I think he could take the same approach to this golf tournament. Like, whatever. I'm walking around. Irons feel good. Biceps are bulging. I'm out of here. Like I don't know. I don't like.
What
I don't
the hell
think
accent was that?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It
was like New Jersey. I'm not sure.
That's New Jersey. I live right by New Jersey. I've never heard anyone talk like that.
I've never been to New Jersey. I said it was like it wasn't a very good one. It's just what came out. It happens. Like if I have to pick a narrative to kind of adopt, that would be my narrative, is that I could see Brooks just looking ahead of this golf tournament and focused on next week. And that's a lot of ownership and a whole lot of salary right there.
Yeah, on that same note, I think for me, and I'm going to be, probably kicking myself in the ass come Sunday, but Phil Mickelson, I think, yes, he's got amazing course history here, but along those same lines, I think especially if he wears that stupid button-down dress shirt that he wore at Augusta. I mean, good God.
Dude, who did he lose a bet to wear that thing?
Or seriously, how much did he get? I mean, he better have gotten a pretty penny from Workday, whoever it was, to do that, because that was atrocious. So Phil Mickelson for me, just because I think when you look at his course history, he's got name value. People are probably going to be, if there is any ownership wavering, I think a lot of people are going to be on Phil. So I want to box that ownership out. He's probably going to be, like you were saying, Jimmy, around 20, 25% owned. And another guy, just to because I'm new here, so I want to over deliver here, is Kiradech. Yes, I think he's going to be a decent pivot off of the U lines and the CH3, but he's been playing a lot of golf, and I think he's a decent. I like him the following week at Shinnecock. I think he's going to be a good play there. But at that 8,400, there's like List and other guys that I want to play a little bit more, so I want to be boxing out Kiradech.
Nice. That works.
I think that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah. Thanks for coming on tonight, Reed.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure, guys.
And next week we got Roger on for the US Open, so make sure you tune into that as well.
All right. This has been the Bogey Free podcast for the St. Jude. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes under Bogey Free. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Bogey Free. And of course, if we're not winning all the money, we hope you guys do. So good luck in your contest this week.
See you
later.